What is up, guys? This is Justin, aka FMDigi, and I'm here to give you a little tutorial on how to use the pregame editor versus the in-game editor. Two different things, two wildly different things, but kind of wanted to showcase a little bit about what I do as a database creator, allegedly, in the pregame editor. So let's get into it. Okay, so as you can see, here I have my Tottenham beta save loaded up. You'll see this little icon over here if you already have it installed. Actually, let's go here to downloads. If you do not have it installed, you can see this guy right here. It'll have a buy now button right here, and you can buy it through Steam. I've already bought it, so sorry, can't really show you. But once you do buy this, the in-game editor, you have access to this over here. You can edit staff details, personnel details, anything, become unfireable. If you go into a player, you can then edit that player's attributes. So I can go to Hugo Lloris and start editing his information here. I can give him passing of 10. I can do kind of whatever I wanted to. I can change his nationality, his salary. You can kind of go nuts. When you're done with that, you just click stop editing. You can move him to a different club. Let's say we want to send him to PSG. Somewhere in here it is, but yeah, you could just find the club and click and move, and he is gone on that club. You can also edit attribute details. These are ones kind of hidden in the game. As you can see, there are reputation, potential ability, some really cool ones. Player traits is one. You want someone who can shoot from distance. You can click that. They're going to be more apt to do whichever attribute you give them here as far as traits. And you can see there's a ton of things in here. You can change positional. So he's a goalkeeper, but for example, I could change him also to say central midfielder. Let's make this a 20. Hit OK. Also, decent little midfielder. Let's actually change that back because I'm not ready to do that. Whoops, not this one, but this is one you could use to edit this information that you see here. Actually, I'm going to leave that. I'm just not going to save. But yeah, here is all the things you can do. I mean, there's so many different things. You can go into club info and click this. You can play around with it, go into different screens, and you'll get different options here. You can allow registration anytime instead of during their only registration windows. Club details, you can, bump your reputation. Finances here, you can go into here and update finances. You can give up to $1 billion. But don't do $1 billion, do 999,000,99999. Pro tip there. You can inject a sugar daddy. You can update your facilities, rival clubs. I mean, you can go kind of nuts in here. Anything you can see on screen, you have a good chance of being able to update in here. We can go to, I think you can go to Club Vision. No, you can't, sorry. I lied. But yeah, you can, see all these things. You can expand your search criteria by clicking this. So if you were to go into scouting and player search, it's going to show, I was using the Zealand thing here. So if you were to say go in here to overview, you're going to see every player in here because I've already done this. Show all players in search. Yeah, this is going to load up every player in the database that you currently have. So it's interesting, but not always as useful. And then same for staff. Let's untick that and see. Yeah, it still shows the same amount, I think, because I've already looked at them or something. But that is the in-game editor. Let's go to the pre-game editor. Okay, here it is. It's going to be a separate, actually, let me show you. Okay, so what you're going to do is you're going to go into Steam and you're going to look over here. make sure you have games and tools, because let's just take that off and take off games. You're going to see tools is something that the editor is going to be in. So you can see 14 editor, 18 editor, 19, on and on and on. But you want to make sure you click the 21 editor. If you don't have it installed, for example, I don't have the 18 editor installed anymore, just click install. It'll load up and run. But once you get it going, you can come into here and hit that. So we will close that out. And it'll take you into the Football Manager Editor 2021. This is a very increasingly difficult place to be, but they don't change it very often, and the little changes they make don't usually interfere or can kind of allow you to do something in a previous version and then carry it over from version to version. And so for example, let's say we want to add a player or edit a player, anything. We can go over here to people and we can say do a search. Let's look for Harry Kane. And it'll find anyone with Kane in their name, and Harry Kane's the first one on here. I can double click it and then I can go into his record in the database. If I want to change his date of birth, if I want to change where he was born, any of these things you can change, and then we'll get into what happens after that. Say you want to change his contract, you can do that. You can change him to have this contract expire in 2027. We'll do that. 2027. So now he's going to stick around for a little bit longer. If you wanted to give him different attributes, you could totally do that right here. These are hidden attributes that are typically used to determine if you're a determined player, if you're a fickle player, if you're mercenary. These kind of things are what is done here. As you can see, it gives you down here, it'll give you a 0 to 20 rating for any of these things. It kind of helps you out with what's the best, and then it will actually tell you here for that player what their potential jobs would be post retirement or post gameplay. Talks about languages. If you wanted to schedule Harry Kane to retire at a certain year, you could do something like this, where you could add a player retirement and pick a date, and there you go, he's set to retire. Then you could do any of these things. Kind of interesting, but we'll clear that out. And if you wanted to change any of the data, this is kind of where a lot of people want to update things. Change current ability, potential ability, and then this year they've added in this peak current and peak potential ability, their worldwide reputation, current reputation, and then home and world reputation, and then things here in terms of height and weight. These look like they're centimeters, and weights, but I'm guessing kilograms. Being in America, we use feet, inches, and pounds, but I think it's not made for that. You can see any of these things, trained in nation, to get you through kind of registration rules. You can tick this one off, and then you can update for position. So as you can see, he's marked as a 20, which is the maximum for striker. Can also play center mid, left mid, a little bit of midfield, but you could update these numbers and then they will show up in the game with the colored items there. For role scores, kind of see how this is where he's better at a deep line forward than a say target man on support. You can look at the score, you can assign this. Okay, so we can just do that. Positional scores, these are kind of the you're going to be able to see based on what you put in earlier. You can update these or add different ones for these. So plenty of things, really interesting things to do in here. Pretty much the main thing anyone would want to update would be here in the current ability. These are where you can update all your settings. You have some goalkeeping ones here that obviously are zeros, but then you can also edit them dependently in here. So your mental attributes, your physical attributes, your technical attributes, goalkeeping attributes. That's why those are all zeros. But then you go here to all attributes, and it will kind of show you a weighting and kind of how those, there's so many things to edit in here. You can get crazy. Preferred moves. So this is where, as we saw in the in-game editor, you can tick, okay, he likes to curl the ball. Okay, we'll check that. You can look through all of these things. Injury history. You can even do future history or future injury if you kind of want to add some sort of realism to the game, or kind of make it a little harder for yourself. You can add suspensions. You'll notice here in the editor, a lot of these fields are white. Those are ones that already have values in them. Anything that is gray does not have a value in it. For example, if I was to add a suspension and then put a date in here, let's say he was suspended back in 2016, and then he was suspended for a month, I can say you can even search for a competition. So I can look in here, go name, and English Premier. So yeah, click that. He is suspended for that. So now you can see that field is white. If I wanted to clear that out, that would show up in his history. If I wanted to clear that out, easy to do. Now it's gray again. Relationships, you can go into favorite people, disliked people, favorite clubs, disliked clubs, on and on and on. Playing history. You can see all of this. It is cool what you can do. One of the main things that people want to do is, we'll go back here to kind of the player screen. You can add a player. You can add a retired person, journalist, agent, but you can add your own player, and you can put in whatever values you want. If you want to, all these attributes, you can just go in there, play with it, go kind of nuts with that. That's always fun to do. Okay, now let's look at teams, clubs, I guess, as they call them in here. You can see these are all the things you can edit. You can even edit different injuries. I don't know why I'm doing this. So let's go in and show you how to do clubs. So let's look at clubs. You can kind of sort and filter by these. We can filter by England, and it'll give us, the top 500 clubs in England. Let's look at Manchester United. You can update the name, short name, 6-letter name, nickname, hashtag. So when you see in the social aspect of the game, it'll have hashtag whatever is in there. Extinct, that's one a lot of editors use. That gets rid of a club from being able to see it in the game. So if I was to click extinct, they would no longer be in the game. This is colors of kind of their logo and how it looks in game. So you see foreground, the text is the white, and the background color is going to be the red. It gives you your founded, their status. You can actually put minimum, maximum ages. Some of this stuff is related to MLS because there is some hard coding in the game to kind of get around weird, quirky MLS rules. So this is an option as well. In fact, I think, no, you can't. I thought you could click it and it would tell you a little bit about that, but it doesn't. It doesn't do that, unfortunately. If a club has reserve teams, you can look through here, kind of name the team, or not name the team, but under 23, where they are, where they play, their games, all of this stuff. Ownership, you can change what kind of ownership they have, whether it's a president, general manager, or founder, and then what kind of ownership it is. You can play around with all this stuff. As you unlock different things here, you can also open up certain things here. You can stop outside takeovers. Get into the stadium. You see all these things here. Now, Old Trafford, that is something that's hard-coded in the game. This is going to be under the stadium section. One thing you'll learn is you can double-click a lot of things and it will kind of take you quickly to that rather than looking for it. So let's say let's say you wanted to play a team in a city that didn't exist. You could simply go into the database and add that city. You can add different things. So here we are back at Manchester United. Let's say, so this will give you all of the training, coaching, all the kind of ratings for that. Basically everything in here is 0 to 20 ratings, and of course higher being better. talks about the attendance, normal attendance, and you can actually set a minimum, a maximum of attendance. Now, if you wanted to schedule a stadium change, for example, you could do this, create a new stadium and say, okay, in January 2022 or whatever, they're going to move to a new stadium. You can use alternate stadiums. If you have a supporter band moves, I mean, there's some crazy stuff in here. Finances, this is something where a lot of people doing experiments like what happens if a club has $1 billion in non-league. This is where that would be done. You could also do it in the in-game editor, but here in the pre-game editor, you can do that too. You could set your bank balance here, transfer, anything in here. Embargoes, you can do transfer embargoes. You can do in administration. You can set your sugar daddy options here. All of these options you have to play with. Any kind of other income you can do, and there's tons of different options there. You can do, where the starts and ends, and if you renew income, and if you click on one, it kind of gives you the same options here, but you can edit it in a kind of easier to read. Any sort of debts you can do. Oh man, I hate that they've got so much debt. Fix that for you. You can, anything in here, for financial fair play records from previous years that will keep that history, because it is based on, years and consecutive years. So you could add that in here. So if you kind of wanted to make it easier for yourself, you maybe knock this down so they didn't take a loss. You could change that. Any player buyback clauses we don't have, sell-on clauses. So for example, Phil Jones gets sold, then Blackburn's going to get 25% of that. You could take those out. Appearance fees, you could add, change, remove, whatever, monthly installments, on and on and on. You can add a bunch of this. Now here is kind of the meat and potatoes of how you get a team into a league, is you can update the division they're in. And for example, I've already done a search for English Premier Division. They don't have licensing for EPL, so in the editor it will say English Premier Division, which, by the way, you can change in here if you liked. I can show you that. But yeah, you can kind of do that. Any sort of European coefficients would go here. I mean, there's tons of things you can change in here. Any regional divisions, so kind of the divisions that Manchester United would fit into for these under 18, under 19 divisions would go here. And then you can actually set your starting media expectations here. So, we're projected to finish third in the first season. Club Vision, we're going to look at this. These are the things that come up when you start, and it says, okay, we want you to be able to do this, this, and this. So they want us to play entertaining soccer. I have the American version, it would say football. Develop players, and you can list an importance between -10 and 10. You can have certain ones that say, okay, we're going to start this in a different year, use it for a couple of years in the future. But I mean, there's tons of little things you can do here, set the importance to these, and that's why you're going to see sometimes they have 4 bars, sometimes they're, they're required, and some of they're like kind of nice to have. Tactical attributes, this will kind of tell what the team is wanting to do. You can look at supporter profiles. You can kind of set these to make your fans be a little bit more into the team or less into the team. If they're more affluent, they're going to pay more money. You can help generate money a little bit easier by doing that. Patience, they're going to be they're still going to come to games if you're having a crappy season or 2 or 3, depending on how patient they are. Go to here to contract types. Typically for Premier League and top tier league, these are all blank, but you can set these to where a star player could only have a non-contract or a youth contract or something like that. Leaving them blank like this just allows any kind of contract to happen. Jerseys and colors, you can go in here and update your jerseys and colors. You'll see here this 680. So if you wanted to update a picture or something like that, you would go into your graphics folder, save that file as 680.png, and it will do these things. Home jersey, you can edit that obviously in here. So here we would edit the text, here we would edit the icon. They do have different jerseys for different competitions, as you can see. but it's crazy stuff that can be done. And then different shorts, socks, and I believe that's it. And you can do the away jersey, any third kits, and then the goalie updates as well. In here, let's say you wanted to add yourself on as a board member for a team. You do it right here. You would have to add that person in the database. So like if I was to add, we've already done Harry Kane, so let's do Harry Kane. We want to add Harry Kane to the team. Where did it just put him? Did it not? Oh, maybe I can't do it because since he's a player. That could be something there. But yeah, you can create yourself, add yourself to the board of directors, or add yourself as the chairman. And you can edit any of these things as well. There's so many different things. To go back, you can just hit this back button right here, take you to the previous screen you were on. Let's go through here. So we can see the Manchester United coaching staff and their job, their ability, other staff. So this would be scouts and medical staff. You're going to see all your players. So if you wanted to edit individual player per team, this is kind of the screen to do it rather than go into the player screen and search. They're all here at your disposal. Anyone who's affiliated with the team, whether they're on loan to Manchester United or on loan away from Manchester United, you can look at this. This should show every player in here. Players on loan, yes, we have that one. Away, so these are how you can find all that. Captains, you can do so much. You can add a player partnership in here, and then you can put in here kind of who handles what different responsibilities with the club. Relationships, any sort of rival clubs, you could say, oh yeah, you know what, they're actually big relationship or big rival with Yeovil or something like that. You can add that in here. If they ever play, it's going to kind of spark up a little bit of interest. You can see here they don't like to transfer players from Liverpool to Man U. That box is ticked right there. Have your favorite people, Ryan Giggs, Alex Ferguson, and kind of why. Here, this is something cool. You can actually name a ground after this person. So potentially they could have Ryan Giggs Field or whatever. Interesting that David Beckham isn't in there, but some of these others are. Disliked people. Permanent dislikes. So these are players, people in the game that they do not like. Club legends. Obviously you have your legends, your icons. You can see those. And then any affiliations. So these are affiliations that they have with other clubs, whether it be, let's click here. It could be any kind of affiliation. We're going to schedule some friendlies with these clubs. Anything like that can be here. I'm not sure the difference here between validated and current affiliations. Any sort of records the team has, most goals scored, biggest win. So you can find these things in the game. Kind of adds a bit of realism. This does nothing for the gameplay, just makes it feel a little bit more real. And then any kind of team history, you can go in here and add the team history to the for that entire season. You can look in here. It's crazy how you can do this. And then any kind of changes you made, you can see I ticked that box no, then I ticked it yes, back and forth. Try to add Harry Kane. If I don't want that, I can just remove that one. Like, oh crap, I forgot to do that. Oh, I didn't mean to clear the debts. Let's remove that. So now if I go back up to financial, oh, never mind, it is still there. Okay, lies. I lied. But yeah, that's what you could do. And then let's say you wanted to, save this. So let's do something real quick. And we're going to name this team Manchester United X. Okay, so we do have those two changes. We would go into here and we could reload database and apply undeleted changes. So what this will do is this will kind of reload where we were and allow us to kind of revert those changes back. So we did that. We'll go back in here at Manchester United. So let's just add that X to the end of this, X to the end of that, X to the end of this. And we're going to do a little test here just so we can see this. So here we're going to save our change. We haven't saved it yet, so it doesn't know the file. Save editor as. And we're going to say Man U X just to kind of give it a name. You could actually publish this to Steam and it will publish based on your Steam account if you've tied it in, which is a cool thing to do. You can put a description here. This is just a test. And then you could add a picture. I don't have any pictures loaded up. But yeah, let's just hit save right here. And then I will show you how to get this into the game. So let's open up the game. Okay. So we've all seen the screen. Start screen. We're going to start a new game. One thing to also know, whenever you do make a change in the pregame editor, the database, that will not allow you to make any changes to current games you have going. This will have to require a new game setup. Reason being is because what it does is on this screen here, this is where it pulls in any of the database information that you have. You can, do a billion different things in here, but it has to happen right here. So we're going to click in here and we can see we have one database. Everyone's pretty familiar with this. If you have a custom database, you can find them in here. They are going to live inside of your editor data folder, inside your FM21 main folder. The editor will automatically save them there. But yeah, let's check this one. So now it's going to allow us to use those rules, and we're going to click Advanced Setup. We're going to go through the game database, and we can just filter these guys, and let's just get into a game. Game has finished loading up. It's going to ask you, hey, pick your coach. Go in here, and then, oh, what's this? What's this weird X right here next to Man U? Man United X. We did that. We changed it. Changed the nickname. So we can pick that club and go into that club and do everything like you normally would do when you start playing a match or a save. Yeah, Manchester United X. So you see we made that update in the pregame editor. It's going to, everywhere you see Manchester United, it's going to have the X next to it. We can go through this just like we normally would and get into the saves. I'm going to go ahead and save that. So as you can see here, we're here. One of the things we did was change Harry Kane. So let's look up Harry Kane. And let's see if his contract expires in 2027. It does. Remember, it was 2024. We have extended that. Something interesting we could have, we did there. Now, again, you can also do that in the in-game editor. I can say, you know what? Let's change it back to, I don't know, here, and have it expire that day. Click Stop Editing, and now you see it's that day. So you can do both, but it depends on kind of what you want to do. Quick things, the in-game editor is perfect for, because you can do it after a game has started. Pre-game editor can only be done before a game has started. Pre-game, before game. Okay, now back to the home screen of that one. We've done our changes, but let's say we want to start over with a new database. So what you have to do is here, you have to go to Load Database, and it will load. It'll say any changes you don't have or are going to be lost. Go ahead and click that. If it is later in the cycle of FM, you're going to be able to choose which database you want to go off of. And for example, in FM20, they had the main one, FM20, then they had FM20.1 and FM20.4 were their database changes. So you can choose which version of the game you want to apply this to. Right now, we're early in the FM21 cycle, so there isn't that choice option there. But you will see it in future as the cycle goes on. So here we've got a brand new fresh vanilla database. You'll see there's no name over here on the left, on the right. So one thing a lot of people want to do is remove Brexit. There's a ton of databases out there, but I will show you how to do that for yourself. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to go to here to rules, and you can add nation rules. You pick your nation out of here. Current nations, these are ones that come in the game. And then other nations are any other kind of nation. I mean, they're still in the game. So, I mean, if you wanted to pick any of these countries, you could do that. But current nations, we're going to pick England. And here you could create new competition rules. This is what I did for my, if you're familiar with me, I've done a United States ProRel 9-tier database. I did it using this one. But what we're going to do is we're going to add lower divisions and cups to existing structure. What that allows us to do is it keeps the existing pyramid structure in place and allows you to make updates to it. So we're going to stick with that. And as you can see here, it's loaded up and it says, okay, we're going to start our season. Update day is June 24th. So that means when June 24th happens, that's when the new season starts and ticks over. So previous league table will reset back. Any teams that have been promoted or relegated in and out of that division will show up in there, and then everyone will have 0 games played. Season start date, season end date will be here. But as far as divisions, so you can see here, they do have your Vanarama National League North and South in here. And then they have the subdivisions, North and South, you can see. But then they also have regional divisions. One of the reasons those teams are not playable in the game is because they have him here as an inactive division. So that way they can maintain clubs that go up and down from the Vanarama National North and South leagues. They can come up and down from this. So they need to have kind of the buffer league underneath to be able to handle that. I won't get into too much about how that all works, but we're still talking about Brexit. This is kind of a little difficult to do, but they're here in the rules. Now that we've picked our nation rules, we can't add a second nation. For example, if you wanted to add rules to England and say Spain, you would actually need to create 2 files for that. So we're going here to convert to advanced rules. This is where things get a little crazy. You're going to say, are you sure? There's extra settings and things. But in advanced rules, there's a lot more validation that has to happen. And you can go back and forth, but once you go back, you lose any changes you made in advanced. So here we are. We've gone into the advanced editor, and you can see a lot more things in here. See required teams, and it will tell you EPL requires 20 teams minimum and maximum. Here we have the kind of the Bury rule where League One has 23 minimum but 24 maximum. So those things kind of happen here. And then you get into the leagues underneath in the regional leagues that are all still in the game. You're going to see maximum team -1. That's going to signify they can have any amount. It's just kind of infinite in there. Now, for removing Brexit, go here to agreement change. And you can see this agreement is enabled, and it says agreement is European Union, announcement date is November 25th, and it says is leaving agreement is ticked yes. And it will say 100% chance of these countries, leaving this agreement. So it's going to happen. Whether it happens here, you can see here kind of the percentages of years where it's going to happen. So you have 80%, 85% chance in 2020, on and on. But what this means here is you don't see 100%. That means it will happen by 2026. Work permit, you can get rid of any work permit rules, and kind of these other things. But if you wanted to get rid of Brexit, you simply tick this box. It's gone. Everything is status quo. We're staying in the European Union. Nothing's going to happen. From that point, what you would need to do is you would need to save this. You're going to save this file, and we're going to name it No Brexit. We're going to hit save. It's going to tell you, you need to verify the rules. Okay. Anytime you make a kind of a large change that's not to just details about a player or a team or a competition like a name or something, anytime you do anything else that involves kind of the rules of the game, you have to verify those rules. And in here you're going to go test rules, and you're going to click all. This way it'll test it for all those divisions down. So we're going to click that. It will take a few minutes to do. But what it's doing behind the scenes is actually kind of running those competitions in kind of super magic quick mode, just to make sure that we didn't break anything with those things. For example, one of the things you could potentially break is, let's say you've changed the number of teams you want to have relegated out of Premier League to 2, but you've forgotten to change the number of teams promoted from the championship. It's going to say, wow, hold up, that won't work. We're going to have an uneven amount of teams going back and forth. It would tell you that here. Okay, that took about 6 minutes to run. roughly about a minute per division. If you actually had less divisions in there, then it would take less time, but it has to go through each one to make sure everything's good, and it does kind of simulate behind the scenes a couple of years. So as you can see here, I click test rules, everything says verified, and up here you will see 6 out of 6 division levels verified. This is what you need to see. From there, you do need, so we saved the file, we verified the file, now you need to save it again to save it in its verified state. And you can see we'll go ahead and do that, save that, and then we'll click back into the game here and we'll start a new game. Go to career. You can see now we have 2 different things in here. You can see this affects England, so we have Brexit in here. We're going to go ahead and add that to our go into setup. Okay, here we are again on the coach screen. We're going to click this. Let's pick Man United. Had I ticked both boxes in there, you can do that. It will give you an alert in the database and the pregame, kind of as you're setting up the game. It'll kind of give you an option as to how many. You can obviously select more than one. If I did that, I would see the X, Man United X here, and it would also get rid of Brexit. So we're going to go ahead and click that, start playing, yes. And now we are playing in a world in which there is no Brexit happening. Let's go ahead and save that. Sure, it already exists because I've tested it several times, playing around. But you can see here, going into the Premier League, you go into rules. It does not mention anything in here anywhere about Brexit. It will say something around November 25th, or I'm sorry, 24th about that in here. It will not. You've removed it. It's gone. It never happened. That's one of the small things you can do. We'll go ahead and quit to the main start screen there, and we'll. Okay, lastly, what I wanted to show you here in the editor is, we're still in the no Brexit. I want to load a new database. So I'm going to start from scratch, load new database, and I will show you kind of an insight into my own personal United States ProRel 9-tier database here, as I will load that up for you here. We're going to load editor data, and here is the one I've got most currently. It's going to take a second to load. As you can see here, there's quite a few database changes I've made. I haven't done each one at a time. Typically, like for example, when I took every team out of the MLS and the USL, those all counted as changes. And then when I put them back in the leagues I wanted them to, it counted them as change too. So I'm not that cool, but I am pretty cool. I mean, you know that. So we're going to go here. It's going to load up. It's going to load in from where we left off before. You can see here, season update date is June 25th. I have built this to try to mimic as closely as I can the United States, or I'm sorry, the rules from England and other European countries. So we're going to start on August 1st and end on June 15th is when the overall season and all league games ends there. You can see here we have all the divisions, Premier League, Championship. If you've played with my database, you know this is the structure we go with. I don't believe there's a way to make this wider so you can see. But see here EPL, you can set in here kind of the number. You have 20 teams, min and max. Number of rounds, that means how many times you play each team. Typically it's 2. Points for a win, points for draw. You could play with these and totally go nuts with those. Again, this is a league. If you wanted to do something crazy with like league with a split, that would be cool. We do see here the inactive division, which is what we saw in the English league setup where the regional leagues were set as inactive. Here's where you set the promotion places and relegation places. Obviously in the Premier League, we have no promotion, but we do have 3 relegations. You can kind of set league rules for sorting. So if you wanted to change this, you have the ability right there. Television money you can add in here, and then here you can go into the dates. You can see what I've done here. It's going to start league season is going to start August 8th and finish up by May 16th. Typically games will be on Saturdays at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. There is no kind of winter break or anything like that, but if you want to do that, that's where you would do that. Prize money, This is for every position, end of season, where you're going to get your prize money. Again, I took this to mimic the UK version, English version. And then any match rules you have, you can set these things up. If I wanted to add a rule, number of foreign players on match squad, I could do that. Number of these are all the rules you have at your disposal, so you can kind of go nuts there. I'm going to remove this one, but yeah, maximum number of trial players on squad 0. Maximum squad size 25. I can make it 27. 99 is the max, so you will see a lot of teams, especially in lower divisions, where you'll see 99 max player rule. This is where that comes from. If there was any other kind of rules like point deductions or whatnot, we could add those in here. And then if there were any kind of playoffs, we could add those in here, which you will see in the next thing for a championship. So here we are in the championship. It has 24 teams. It's going to have 2 rounds and 3 and 1 points for those. You're going to see 2 promotion places and 3 relegation places. You're like, well, hold up. You're relegating 3 from the Premier League. How can you only promote 2 up? You will see, because here everything else is basically the same, but here you have your playoffs, and you can see number of teams promoted from playoffs. So this number combined with this number has to equal the relegation from the league above. So what this is going to do is going to create a cup style play. So it's going to take the top 4 teams who were not automatically promoted. It does this magic, and it will say, okay, we're going to do one team from those is going to get promoted up. And any kind of rules we're going to have, extra time and then penalty. You could do any of these options here as well. If you had a relegation playoff, you could add that in here. So for example, here we'll go to League 1, where we have a few more teams that get promoted. So we have 2 teams that get promoted. If you remember, in Championship, there are 3 teams that get relegated. So it's kind of the same. They're going to go into their playoffs in a 4 and 1 style. League 2 has 6 and 1, so they're going to take the top 2 teams will get a bye, and then the 4 teams will play each other, and then the top 2 teams in this cup will kind of make their way in after that. So that's kind of how that one would work. On and on until I get to the bottom league, and you can see here there is no promotion places. You're like, well, then how do teams get up? It's in the playoffs. And you see here I have all the subdivisions in here: Atlantic, Central, Mountain, Pacific, Southern, and Valley. But here you have your playoffs, where I have 18 teams. So I have 6 leagues in here, in this 6 divisions in this lower league, which is my bottom tier, and it is going to pull 18 teams. So it inherently has to kind of be a number that is divisible by or kind of matches up with the number of teams. So it knows it's going to pull 3 teams in from each of these leagues and put them into an 18 cup tournament, and the top 4 teams are going to be the ones who are promoted. That's how that's going to work. Any kind of cups I have here. I have my FA Cup, my National Cup, which is the any of these teams here outside of the league. Again, I've mimicked my database to be sort of like English pyramid. So the League Cup is going to do these 4, and the National Cup is going to do anything below that. So we can go in here to look at the FA Cup. And you can see here it's got teams. It's going to pull all these teams. And then lastly, I can only fit so many teams. It's going to pull 8 teams from the National League ones and only 12 from the regional Premier Leagues. But it's going to have 256 teams in the competition. And here are the rounds, and here are when teams get added. This takes a lot of trial and error, but you can see here the first round is where 128, or all the teams are basically entered right then. So every team enters in the first round, whether it be Premier League or non-league teams. Kind of give it a little bit of a flair, but you can edit that kind of a little bit there. All the way down to the final, where there's one match and it is on this date at this time. You can put in here in the National Stadium. For example, in England, you have Wembley. It's going to know Wembley's in the National Stadium. Here it is a 2-legged affair in quarterfinal semis, so it's going to know it's going to play one in each location. You have your prize money for each. You can kind of do that. And then reserves and youths, we have in here, if I can click that, yeah, you can just make an under 23, under 18. So that way those guys can play each other, get some match fitness, get some kind of growth with your youth divisions. And what it's going to do is it's going to use just the main team divisions is what I chose on there. You could do something custom or regional, but I just kind of like all the Premier League teams are going to go against their under 23s and under 18s are going to go against each other, and on and on. Going into my clubs, I do have a filter here, which if you guys haven't used this before, it's pretty cool, just so I can see my US teams. And you can see here, it kind of creates a bunch of filters in here that I've already done. There, if you look in the game right now in the vanilla, just load the database up and click Nation of US, you're going to see a lot of teams from a lot of leagues. But what I did is I just wanted to get a feel for all the ones in my database. So I have 380 teams in my database that will be playable when the database is released. And the way I've done this primarily is I've sorted by reputation. That is the key to all of this. So basically the top 20 teams in reputation are put in the Premier League, and the next 24 are placed in the championship, and on and on and on. You can see there's been some updates as well. Some of these teams they're tied. So I kind of made some executive decisions and then some at random. So you'll see here San Diego Loyal, they're a relatively new team. If you follow Old Lady Plays, one of the best content creators here in FM, she's doing a save with this database. She is playing on an early version of this. So she's using this one. As you can see, they are in League One. We have other teams in here. Everything is basically sorted by reputation. As you can see, I'm going to go all the way down here. So the lowest team has a 250 reputation, and that's out of 9,999. So not very good. So you'll see that. One of the things you'll see here is, and I apologize, I did not take the time to do this, but a lot of these teams don't have stadiums when you get down to lower leagues. What does happen in my simulations I've tested, they do get a stadium given to them at the second year in. I can't go through each one and look up. It would take, I think I did the math, it would take something like 160 hours for me to do all that. So I'm going to let the game do it for me. If you decide you want to play one of these teams, feel free. You can go into the editor just like I've shown you, and you can add a stadium to, say, Metro Louisville FC. If I wanted to look at all the competitions, I can pull that up. I have a filter for them as well. US custom comps, so that way I can see the competitions that I've created. I have created every single one of these from the Premier League down to the national lower leagues, and then that holds, you can see here they have a parent competition that would hold the Southern, Atlantic, Valley, and stuff like that. One of the things that I've added this year to this database that wasn't in the previous version of this, we'll pull up Valley National League, for example, is regionalization. And you can kind of see here, I've added boundaries for each one of these regional leagues. So for example, you have a north boundary of Chicago. So it's not going to go any further north than Chicago. It's going to get the latitude of Chicago and try to stay there. It doesn't always work, because sometimes you're going to see a flux of southern teams get promoted, and it has to kind of do some fancy math. I don't know how it does it behind the scenes, but it will do that. So the north boundary would be Chicago. The south boundary would be Chattanooga, and then east and west boundaries of Camden, New Jersey, and St. Louis, Missouri. And it's going to try to fit all the teams that go into this division in a box that creates. And so you can kind of see how I've done that. Now, what I've done is when you load the teams in, you're going to see these are the teams. I have manually put these in based on kind of their locations. Some may be a little bit tweaked, a little bit off. I'm sorry. I'm only one person, and I kind of did this by eye, looking at a map. So everything should be good in there. But yeah, you can kind of see that's how I design these. Going into something like League One, there is no regional thing because it just covers the whole United States. You can set the reputation. In here, you can actually set a trophy, which I haven't done yet. I don't know what these really look like, but this is something new in FM21. So it's kind of cool. You can do that. Do want to show you kind of how to set up the cups as well. So we have here the FA Cup, and this is something where it has a high reputation. You can give it a name. So it's going to be your domestic main cup. So this is kind of the big cup. This will use these things, and then any, like I said, anything that's grayed out doesn't have an option in it. So it's pretty much all just right here. But yeah, I mean, this is my baby. I've been working on it since FM19, released it for FM20, and it's pending release right now for FM21 because I have to wait. Going back here to the nation rules and to general, you will see that we start on June 25th is when our league season starts. Season actually starts August 1st for the entire country, but Premier League will start, we'll get into that, on August the 8th. One thing that's weird and apparently is hard-coded in the database as of recording this is, in fact, we'll do this right now. It does not start until 2021 league. So if I go ahead, I'm not sure what changes I made, but I really don't want to bring them in, so I'm just not going to save those. So we'll go in here, we're going to start a new game, go to career, we're going to go into here, and we're going to say, untick these. We're going to go in and do the example one I have of the United States. Take that, confirm, go to advanced setup. It's going to load the game database. Like I said, this is where it loads any kind of countries or leagues you have included in that previous window, and we'll include these in here. So you can see I don't have MLS anymore. I have the leagues that I've created. I'm going to tick these off so you can kind of see the issue I'm having. So these are what I have to start with. It says, when do you want to start? Which of these dates do you want to start? So we'll pick, early preseason. We're going to start the game, and let's get into it. Fast forward action. Okay, I've picked my manager I want to be. You can see here you choose the team you want to coach. You can choose any of these. This is a bug I'm working on right now. You cannot pick Inter Miami. You can also not pick Nashville. As you can see, they're not in here. Going to be working on that. If you know how to fix that, let me know. The only way I can think of is to duplicate the team and then remove this one and then use the new one. I don't really want to do that. Main reason being is every team is given an ID in the game, and those IDs correlate to the logos you have. So if I was to create a new team, it would have a new random logo or a new random ID, and any logo packs that would need to come in would need to kind of tie into that. So I really don't want to add a new team because that would screw that up. But let's just say here I am in Phoenix. So I want to go to championship, and I'm going to add my beloved Phoenix Rising, which you can see right there somewhere, shirt. For Phoenix Rising, I'm going to choose them and get into this. You've done this before. Hit the boardroom. We're just going to fast forward through this. Okay, and here I am in the United States Championship with the great Phoenix Rising. As you can see here, we have the two promotion places up here that are greened out, champion, and then also promoted. And then you have your 4 playoff positions and your 3 relegation positions here. Go into rules, and you can see here it has that as well. So it already knows how to work those in. If we go, say, to League 2, where there's more promotion playoffs, you can see it has those 6 in there. Going into the national leagues here, you're going to see promotion playoff, relegated to. This all works. I am impressed at how easy this is. Again, here in the bottom tier, there is no relegation. This is the bottom of the bottom, so you could sit at 24 or 22nd place, 23rd place for as long as you want, as bad as you want, forever and ever. They do have options in here about new season and next season, which is something that they've done for FM21 with the weird pandemic we're in, and kind of handling this is the current season and then future seasons from there on. So as you can see, as I mentioned before, it is June 29th of 2020, but let's go into the profile. You can see here, this is the bug that we're running into now. The first match isn't for another year plus. Hopefully SI fixes this, because I don't want to release this database right now as it is. You can see it's still pretty solid, but it's not ready to go in my eyes. Because of this, I have simulated this first season many times and seen a lot of these teams at the lower levels go heavily into debt because they're paying staff, paying players. Anytime there's a friendly scheduled, those players get paid. So it is paying staff but not able to generate income from matches because there just isn't enough matches. So I'm not ready to release that yet because of this. All right, guys, thank you so much. That was my kind of walkthrough through the pregame editor, the database, if you will, for Football Manager 21. I hope you enjoyed it. I know I kind of rambled here and there, but I'm just trying to show you guys how to use basic things in the editor. And if you want to do something cool, the ability is right here for you. I appreciate all the love and support. I'm sorry I haven't had any content out for a while. It's because I'm waiting on the database stuff to get fixed, but it'll happen soon. Thank you so much. Have a great rest of your day.